Hey Soroosh,
Hello.
welcome to the second episode.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. And yeah, so let's go.
Okay. So it's a while ago that we already recorded something about the metaverse, and this is going to be also the topic of this second episode. After we had our podcast release with Touched by Voice, with the episode with Mashall, when we discussed all around ethic AI. So now we're going next step to the metaverse. And let's start with introducing ourselves or yourself. So I'm Dagmar. I'm the host of the audEERING podcast Touched by Voice. And yeah, please, just a few words to your person.
Sure.
And your personality.
Yeah. So my name is Soroosh Mashall. I did my master in University of Passau, and since then I was really into like virtual reality immersion, and also artificial intelligence. So afterward, I just joined audEERING. It's been roughly like 6 years almost, like if you consider
Wow.
us. Yeah, so that's a long time.
That's a long time.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, since then I've been active in, of course, in different areas, but then I was really focused on more virtual reality and kind of like bringing AI into the video game industry. And yeah, here we are, 1 year after the official advent of the metaverse. We're here
right.
sitting and talking about it.
And I think it was a year full of experiences. So something what I want to ask you in this podcast will be with a review of the last year, of this past year, what have changed and what maybe became different than expected before. So 1 year before or last year when Meta announced that they are going to rename and have a renaming and a big focus on the metaverse. But the first thing, I was thinking today about it while preparing, so like the last preparations for this podcast with you, you as an expert, so I just try to become something like an expert about this topic. So I'm really not, but it feels also good because I will ask you something and I will learn so much about it.
I mean, every perspective matters, so go ahead.
That's true. So I was listening to Matthew Ball, the investor and expert all about metaverse, and I was asking myself, is the metaverse already here? Are we already in the metaverse, or is it more about a process, and are we rather in the middle of, or in the beginning of the development and not in the middle of the metaverse?
That's a really, really important point, because even if you look at the definitions and so on, it's super important that we decide whether we want to define metaverse by this process, or we want to define it as a state, right? It's the same situation with every technology. So usually when you have a new technology, in the beginning, it's just always discussions like, how do you define it? Everybody define it differently. Usually they are roughly in the same direction, but I mean, like I remember when I was doing my bachelor thesis on cloud computing, like literally part of my thesis was definition of cloud computing. And at that time, like everybody who had a server like said, okay, we have cloud and we're providing cloud computing and so on, while it was actually just like a data center. And right now, let's say almost 1 decade into cloud computing, everybody definitely knows like what is Amazon, what is Azure, what is, I don't know, Google, and so on. So there is a really clear definition of cloud right now. That's the same thing with Metaverse. So it's been just like, Metaverse started a bit earlier, but this whole new wave started by Meta, the company. So as you mentioned, and it's been 1 year that we are like really deep into it. really industry is going through the same process. What I have seen is we really need to decide on the definition of metaverse. Like I urge everyone to think and come up with the definition themselves. So either if we define it as a state, we are not there yet. Like we are not even close, right? Like there are some stuff, but like really, we really have like a decade to go. If you define it as that like ultimate immersive state. However, if you define it as a process, many people are already there. So I would say let's look at the definitions from many leaders, right? And I'm gonna quote unquote so say like how different people define it, because we can already see like many tech giants are there, and these tech giants are trying to kind of like by different definition target different parts of the market, let's say. So let's start by Google. Code. Google like defining it as evolving computing in an immersive way with augmented reality. As part of that, there will be many experiences, some of which will be immersive interactive virtual world, which is the metaverse concept. This is the evolution of internet. So if you look at this definition by CEO of Google, they are really focused on the immersive aspect of it, seeing it as evolution of internet, so kind of like coming after. So same internet, but kind of like be more immersive. And that's the take they use to define it. But if
are they still using? It's something I would like just maybe, but is it a definition which was mentioned a year before, or is it one which is today also that actual?
They're changing it a little, of course. You know, the narratives change like slightly constantly. But if you just look at it, they really try to kind of like relatively stick to it. And for us here, we want to look at these different definitions and kind of come up with a definition by ourselves, right? So that's what I encourage everyone to do. So, okay, you just heard the Google's definition, which was all about immersion and being the next generation of internet. Right now, let's look at what Mark Zuckerberg said. So, an embodied internet where you're in the experience, not just looking at it. And they call that metaverse. So when Meta, Facebook, old Facebook, is defining it, they're calling it, again, an embodied internet. So having internet as 2D, bring it into three-dimensional world. And you are really, again, so when you are in the experience, means, again, immersion. So that's their target again. So again, we have the keywords immersion coming in, and that's the definition for metaverse. However, if you just look at the Omniverse, so the NVIDIA's definition of metaverse, again, quote unquote, they said the internet changed everything, but surely an understatement. The internet is essentially a digital overlay on the world. The overlay is largely 2D information. We now have the technology to create 3D virtual worlds or model or physical worlds. That's the key point. Some worlds are built for gathering in gamers, but a great many were built by scientists, creators, and companies. Virtual worlds will pop up like websites today. So here, they're again talking about it as being the successor to internet. However, they are really focusing on modeling. And you can, if you just look at the Omniverse with these ideas of digital twins and so on, they are really going in that direction. So they're really going more, although NVIDIA is known for everyone to be like the gamer company, their approach to the metaverse is more, let's say, like digital twins for really big, huge companies and simulations, let's say. That's the direction they're going. Regardless, they still consider it like an overlay and the next generation. And if there was somebody who just started this whole movement before anybody else were talking about it, that was Tim Sweeney. the CEO of Epic Games, in DICE 2020. And he said, this is all part of what's going to happen over the course of this decade. The move from a whole bunch of walled gardens into something that is increasingly open and comes to resemble the end of this decade, an open metaverse. So he really just focuses on this aspect of interoperability and ensuring that these virtual worlds connect together the same way that internet and hyperlinks were used to, like the web was used to connect people using internet. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing that Tim Sweeney means. Regardless, so if there is something if there's a message, let's say, that we take out of all these definitions, is that's the next internet. That's what every tech giant believes in. And it's going to be more immersive, which is pretty good, because if you, we as humans, over the course of our evolution, we learned to detect and place every object in the 3D world and remember it by that. So you have really evolutionary speaking, we have hard time remembering words that we read, but we don't have an issue to remember where I placed something in the kitchen, because at that moment your brain already maps the 3D kitchen and maps an object in that kitchen, right? And this is super hard, actually. If you consider it from data processing perspective, to have a mapping of that environment is a lot, let's say, consumes a lot more resources than remembering a text. But since we are trained for that during years and years and millions of years of evolution, this is easy, this is natural. So that's why everybody is focusing on internet these days.
I'm asking myself, so when I try to remember when we started the first try of an episode, or we had our talks 1 year before, it was already, there was this focus on what are we aiming for. So what are the tech giants aiming for? What is the big goal? And in the last year, I was observing more and more very negative feedback. Not from the tech giants, not from the experts of, but from people who started to trying. And they had this vision in their mind, in their minds, and then they tried out Decentraland. Am I right?
For example,
like an example, the most everyday example for the metaverse. And then there came up this very negative feedback about, what's that? What are we aiming for? It's not, this can't be the future. So it's nothing what people are open to. So where are we right now? So I would say maybe it's important to say, what is the status right now? What is possible today in this metaverse?
Okay. I mean, that's a really huge question, and you probably need a whole podcast to just really go over that.
Because I would like to put a focus maybe on this visual part right now. We are audio companies, so let's just have a look at this. But what I was observing also is that we had in the development, there is a clear focus on the visual. So how could the metaverse look like? Also, for example, Meta, which are developing more and more features, and how the avatars looks like, and how their the facial reactions are. Maybe we can have a look at this part. So where are we right now?
Yeah. So something that's probably the people didn't get is, right, I'm just sitting playing these video games on my PC, and it is photorealistic, every detail. I can see all the shadows and so on. And then I go to Metaverse, and then I have pretty much a low poly, really, really crazy textures. And they're okay, why? Why don't they have the same thing? It's so when it comes to visual, it's not like that we can't do it. It's that the hardware, we don't have the hardware to do so. Because if you want to go to, let's say, to VR, you need really high resolution close to your eyes because you shouldn't see the pixels, right? If you would have low resolution, like even you would have the same resolution as your phone, it wouldn't be probably enough. Because just imagine, like, even if you have your phone and then you would have it close to your eyes, you can really see the pixels. So you need, let's say, like, I don't know, 4K resolution on each eye to ensure that you have a really seamless, let's say, experience. So that's the first aspect. And to get such a resolution, you need high graphic, like you need really, really good graphic cards. And well, graphic cards are really large and they consume a lot. So you can't then have them integrated into a head-mounted device, right? Because what you want is a head-mounted device that is really, let's say, lightweight. You don't have to plug it in at all. You can just go around. That's what you want at the same time, because you don't want to just be like, you don't want to sit by your computer and just have a monitor attached to your face, right? You just want to go around and do whatever you want to do. At the same time, we don't have the technology, like the graphic cards are not still, let's say, small enough and performant enough so that they can run that. So that's the only solution they have at the moment. Of course, this is advancing super fast. And as we go forward, this technology allows for, let's say, higher visual fidelity. Visual is not the only way that we interact. Of course, that's one of them. But of course, there are other ways that leads to the more natural interaction.
From the technical perspective, how is it possible then to add audio to the metaverse?
Yeah. Almost every head-mounted device these days has microphones integrated, and microphones are everywhere, literally. So then if you have the microphone and you have the speakers, then you can interact via your voice or, like, let's say, auditory channels as well. However, how do we, it's a matter of how much we want to use it for immersion. I think in general, audio is super underestimated because, I mean, if you're a 90s child like me, you remember living by simply a voice call and just talking to your phone was enough. Literally, you could just, I mean, even nowadays, you don't always do video calls. Many times, simply hearing voice is enough, but hearing them without the voice, that's not enough, right? So, and we usually tend to forget that audio is enough alone, but video alone is not enough, which means that it's underestimated greatly. And when it comes to the metaverse interactions, I believe there's a huge potential to use audio. And let's say simply having this natural interaction, like talking, listening, and so on in the metaverse as well.
Do you think that the industry, I would say the industry first, is ready for adding audio, especially audio AI and emotion recognition in this context to the metaverse, to this development? Or do we as a company, you as a developer, do we have to wait a few years maybe or some years to really react to the openness of the industry? Do we have to wait kind of?
Okay, so first of all, if you want to have something ready by some time, you should start sooner, and you should always consider the time and effort that you really need to put into it until something comes up in a foreseeable future. So let's say if we stick to Mark Zuckerberg's vision, he said Metaverse is gonna be out there in 5 to 10 years, right? And if we want to have something ready, tested, working seamlessly in 5 years, that's why we need to put efforts today. So, so maybe the public, like going to the public right now with like, let's say, full scale is not the right strategy. However, trying out the technology in, let's say, test groups and so on, and ensuring and like tweaking it, having a user-centered like design perspective, this is super important. And I believe like we are already late actually. So because if we don't do it right now, these are the reasons, right? As I said, people were playing, I don't know, many other games using the voice interaction, voice chats, and so on. So it shows that how much people care about these aspects. And if you would, let's say, focus too much on other aspects of Metaverse and leave out, let's say, audio interactions, like which leads to the natural interaction, then you're less likely to have success in, let's say, like going to the mass market.
Regarding emotion recognition, emotion analysis, what is your vision? What is your vision about adding emotions into, but especially acoustic emotion analysis into the metaverse? Do you have also an example, a clear example of your vision? How will this look like? So for sure, a more natural interaction. But what is like the specific? Is there a specific idea you have in your mind when you think about it, that this is going to be the metaverse in a few years, in 10 years, maybe in 20 years? How will it look like? And this maybe also in the context of creating another world, a second world, a virtual world, a reality which don't have to or shouldn't be like one-to-one the one we have right now. And which role does emotion analysis and adding audio analysis to it?
There's a really important point here. So why do we go into a metaverse? Like, why would I want to spend time in there? Because I can do things that I can't do in real life. Like, if there was things that I could do in real life, I would do them right now. I would just go out and do them, right? I go in there because there are a lot of things that are in my imagination. I can imagine them, but I can't do them in real life. Like, I can't just shapeshift into a dragon, and fly above the city. I want to feel that, right? But I can't do it in this world. We know why. but I can't do it in metaverse, right? So this is super important to understand. And when we are talking about metaverse, it's important that we really address this whole spectrum. On one end of spectrum, you want metaverse to be super realistic so that you can train and do things for mastery that are high cost for you in real life. Okay, let's take example of training soldiers. All right. For example, Onward, it's a simulation game and so on. In that case, you want them to, let's say, have the exact, they want them to be immersed in the situation, have the reflexes and, train for the actual use cases. But then at the same time, you want everything to be really just like the real life. So this is one end of spectrum. And the other end of spectrum is, let's say, the dragon I mentioned, which it's completely imaginative, right? So yeah, and then this is the metaverse we are going towards. So that's the whole spectrum. And along the spectrum, we have a lot of different use cases that can benefit from natural interaction. For example, let's again use the same spectrum. Emotion AI. In this case, you want to ensure that you can analyze like what happens in the real situation. In the real situation, there is a commander, let's say, listening to everyone who is training, and they are constantly, let's say, like talking to each other and so on. You can, like, the commander can hear their stress level in their voice, and let's say like pull somebody back or force and so on. Let's say like all of that. So there is a human supervision in there, right? But let's imagine that you want to do it on your own. So there is not a commander that, you know, is experienced and listening to you and seeing if you are, let's say, stressed or not. In that situation, emotion AI can analyze your voice and then give you feedback like, okay, like you sound panicked, right? Okay, you know, maybe you need to kind of like do not rush right now. You know, that can lead you to lose your life or whatever, right? You know, this is all in a simulation, of course, but like you can imagine what I mean.
Yes.
So the AI acts as an, like, emotion AI really hears your voice, analyze you, and is the assistant, the agent that you want to have, let's say, alongside you. On this other end of spectrum, which is like completely unrealistic, as I'm a dragon and I'm just flying over Munich, I want to roar, and then while I'm roaring, I want fires to sprout from my wings, right?
And you would stay in Munich. You wouldn't go somewhere else. Okay.
I mean, imagine you're a really big dragon, and then you just go and sit on the Frauenkirche. That looks pretty cool, though. So, I would have really loved to do that. So yeah, so there, in that case, you know, I want my avatar to change based on my emotions. You know, I want, like, when I laugh, I want my dragon to change into, let's say, like green color and sprout whatever, like, I don't know, leaves from it. And when I just yell and I'm just roaring, I want it to just like, be red and fiery and so on. And this is adaptive change that my avatar has based on my emotions, right? So these are two ends of spectrum that you can see. Emotions matter there, because at the end of the day, emotions are something we use every day to communicate, right? So emotion is a communication tool, let's say. When you go into Metaverse, you want to communicate as well, right? And then you want to ensure that this layer of emotional communication is there. Because if anything, we humans communicate with our emotions. Yeah. Like, if like this conversation wouldn't be the same if I was just like, hey, today is a great day. Yeah, we are talking about the metaverse. And like, you know, like, you wouldn't even listen 1 second to me, right? So this is super important.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why I'm so excited about the development. So I'm completely not the person who's like super ready for the next metaverse development and I will go there inside right now, but I'm super excited about it. Emotions are there. Like, just like you said, emotions are there. It's an everyday part of our communication, of our experience and perception. Everything is like in the context of emotions, but it's happening like this, that unconscious. We don't have this focus on it. It's just happening. It's just like there's like the whole information setup is like in this part of how do we communicate, not what, but how do we communicate. And creating this world could mean for me that adding emotion recognition, that we make it more conscious, that we make this potential, we recreate it and put it in the focus, and we really can say, okay, this is important. This is making us to a human interacting, empathic being, and it's including so much more than only, okay, are you happy or not? It's so much more than this. Step by step, we're coming to the end. So I would like to talk what kind of achievements do we have with audEERING? So what is happening right now with audio AI created here in our company, created with your help because of Entertain, your Entertain brand. So you are the product owner of Entertain, and in this context, a few examples. Where are we with audio AI and emotion AI in audEERING?
We always see AI as an assistant, right? So kind of like they're doing things that you don't want to do manually, or making you like really enabling you to do things that you can't otherwise do. And for each of these use cases, we developed a different product. For example, for the use cases I mentioned, kind of like changing my avatar and so on. What you need is like, let's say, the voice of the player inside the video game, inside the metaverse. So you want to get that voice based on the emotions and expressions you want to change the avatar. For that use case or any other use case that, let's say, involves with like game engines and creating it directly, we have Entertain Play, which, let's say, gives you access to players' emotions, players' mood in real time on the device without any need to internet access. So just in case you have, let's say, an experience that's also offline. And and also really super low consumption, which runs on every head-mounted device today, like Oculus and so on. So that's exactly like what we try to do to ensure that we make this available for the whole industry. The other aspects, like the other use cases, are, for example, feedback. So it goes in the direction of playtesting, market research, and so on. Because if you have a product and you want to, let's say, test the users in the metaverse, because one way is, let's say, I just walk into an exhibition, I just look at the next, I don't know, BMW, and then I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool, right? And then you can see me there. But if you would do the same thing in the metaverse, you want to ensure that you would get proper feedback and analysis of everyone. So it goes in the direction of market research in the metaverse, whether, I don't know, that can also be like for fashion industry, automotive industry, playtesting, new experiences, everything. For that, we have Entertain Observe, which helps you to, let's say, cover all of those cases, like how interested the, let's say, people are when they're having this interaction with this new product or this new game, or at this point of the game, and so on. And the other aspect is the safety, which is discussed, like, which is concerned with toxicity detection and harassment detection and parental control. So if you go into metaverse, you want to ensure that that's a safe environment. And this environment, you don't want people to just like come, start cursing and so on. And to detect this, imagine you would have like you have kind of like a voice chat. But like it's more immersive. So there's more chance to hurt your feelings, and we want to ensure that that doesn't happen. So it's super important that whoever is creating a new metaverse experience deploys such technologies to detect any possible harassment, any possible toxicity. And if the technology is there and they're not using it, well, the public should really ask for it, I believe, because this is something that makes, let's say, our virtual experience a lot more comfortable and a lot more enjoyable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we're coming to the end right now. So you can also think about kind of a statement, something you would like to add, maybe a question you would like to share with the hearing public we have.
Sure.
But I will start. So from my perspective, I'm in a very good position. I would say in my whole social context, because in the last 4 years I had a very good reach to inside information, to how does it work, what does it mean, new technology, developing AI. So I'm not that skeptical. I'm maybe not that open for including all this in my everyday and at my home. So speech assistants are not part of my everyday life, but I'm super excited about everything what is developing, and especially when understanding there's a huge potential in different cases. But what I'm observing is sometimes I think technology is like developing too fast for human minds. What would you include into kind of operating manual for Metaverse to create maybe more transparency? So what kind of information would it be? What could make it maybe easier for every human to become open regarding to the Metaverse?
Okay, so first thing is to answer this question, you have to really see it in different layers. First point I want to address is like openness is a trait, is a characteristic trait that every human being have. And psychologists suggest that you can maybe alter it a bit, but it's super hard to change. So I'm not sure we can make humans, like if you want to increase openness in, let's say, human population, that's another thing that I can't probably answer that. However, what we can do in our industry is to ensure that things are as easy as possible and as natural as possible. One is, of course, let's say these are the barriers, right? If you want to try something out and then, okay, like I have to set up this, do that, let's say connect my wallet, do this, do that. At some point, like even a techie person would be like, even my time isn't worth it, right? I would do something else. And a non-techie person, it would be like, okay, no, like that's it, goodbye. So really like, and then making it easier. And that comes with time, like it's with every technology. Like same way that you have smartphones, you just have all the apps, they're just like one click, login, everything, syncing data and so on. None of these existed a decade ago, right? So that's why. So like you can already see that by making it easier for the mass public, more people are more likely to try it out. And Metaverse is going through the same process at the moment. So making it super easy to just, let's say, like have the head-mounted devices on, and then let's say getting ready, getting started. The other aspect is when you're experiencing it, at least for the first time, let's say you are open enough to try something out, just like a new restaurant and a new food, and then would you like it or not? Which means like, would you continue? And that is the experience itself. And to do that, I believe the experience should be one, really natural, which means that you should just be yourself, but still feel something new. Okay, so that's the reason that I really just advocate the integration of emotions into every experience, because I believe that no matter how techy and how advanced it becomes, if it's advanced without emotion, it's not worth it. And so I believe that the future we create is our choice today. And I highly believe that a future we create should not only be advanced, but should also be emotional. And that's the message I want to leave everybody with.
Okay. I was inviting you to make a last statement. I would like to end with this because it's on point. It's really on point. Soroosh, thank you.
You're
thank you
welcome.
very much for our talk, for the second
Yeah.
episode of Touched by
Thank you.
Voice. Have a nice day.
I wish everyone to have a nice day as well. Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Bye.